Hey, what's up guys? I'm Torvald Uruz, and today I'm bringing you something a little bit different than the normal Abyssal content. A while ago, I put out some planetary interaction videos, and from those videos, I get a lot of questions about what I do with that material and how I transport it. So I decided to take today and put out this video to explain how I get this stuff to HiSec and what I do with the material once I get it to HiSec. So if you're interested in industrial and how that works, this is gonna be a very basic video about industry. I'm not gonna go too much into it. So if you wanna learn about industry, stick around, watch the video. Hopefully you learn something, and thank you for watching. If there's any other content you'd like to see or other stuff, I know I usually do Abyssal content. This is something new I'm trying. If there's other stuff you want to see, let me know. I'm always looking for new things to do. And if you like the content, please consider liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. Drop me a comment below telling me what you like or didn't like about the video. And I appreciate you watching. Thank you for the support, guys. So a couple months ago, I put out some planetary interaction videos, and I've got a lot of questions about those. And one of the things I get asked a lot is what do I do with that material and how I get it to HiSec. Me personally, I accumulate all the material in low sec, and then periodically, maybe once or twice a month, depending on how active I am, I'll take all that material and I'll jump freighter it to HiSec by jumping from multiple different low sec locations to get it to an ideal spot. If you don't have a jump freighter, you can use standard transports. There's also deep space transports and the covert ops transports that you can use to get that safely. Jump freighter is the best option because you can carry a large amount and it's really quick to move, and it's kind of the safest as long as you do things correctly. So what I do, I jump freighter it, but you have multiple different options there. Now, what do I do once I get this stuff to HiSec? So here I have, if you saw my videos, I mainly produce robotics and guidance systems. Those are the two materials that they use, or two types of resources that use a lot of similar planets. So I found those to be the easiest. So out of all my characters, I make robotic systems or robotics and guidance systems, and I accumulate those here. And you can see here I'm in perimeter. I'm in the structure that has increased bonuses to building stuff. Originally, I was just selling the robotics and guidance systems because I just wanted the money and it was the easiest way. Well, I started, the prices of that stuff went down. So I started looking into how I could use that material to make more money with the prices falling. And with guidance system and robotics, both of those combined to make drones. So I figured, well, perfect. I'll just start making Tech 2 drones. Depending on what you're producing at a planetary interaction, you can kind of figure out what you want to make. There's so many different options. Most everything in Eve, all the Tech 2 stuff, a lot of structures, they use planetary interaction material, even some consumables. So you can kind of determine based off what you're producing and then where you are and how you want to do things. So me, I produce in perimeter and I take that stuff to JITA. If you're out in deep null sec, you're in low sec, or you're somewhere out off the grid, you can look at supplying some little some trading hubs nearby, or your alliance or your corporation, or specifically finding what your group needs and being the sole provider of that, or being one of the people that provide that. And there's a whole, there's a lot that goes into it with, what you want to produce, but it's, you got to do the research to figure it out. I came to this conclusion because I saw that if I mixed robotics and guidance systems and all the materials, I could sell the Tech 2 drones for more than I put into all the baseline materials. So here you can see all the materials I need to build the drones. And right now I'm going to go into blueprints a little bit to explain how these work. So these are three different blueprints for the same thing, but they're three different types of blueprints. So here I've got the blueprint original. This is the one that is seated on the market. You buy from the NPCs. They're typically expensive. Drones, not so much, but I mean ships, for example, like mining barges, those blueprints are about 2 billion-isk a piece. Now, blueprint originals are basically your baseline foundation for industry. They are what you use to get the copies, the Tech 2 blueprints from. So looking at this, if you're starting out with a blueprint original, you have a couple different options here. So when you get this BPO, I'll say for short, when you get these numbers right here will be 0. There will be no material efficiency or time efficiency. Those, obviously, material efficiency and time efficiency, those indicate how much material you can take off there and how much time you can take off if it's researched. Like I said, when you buy a blueprint, it will be 0%. You have to do the research to increase those, which takes quite a bit of time depending on what you're doing. For example, I'm doing some research on some cruisers and destroyers, and they're taking upwards of, these have been running for a while, but they start at about 30 days once you get to a certain level. But those numbers are really important because when you think about it, 10% and 20%, that's a lot of material and time that you can reduce over a long period of time. So it's worth it, especially if you're buying stuff like drones or ammo or, smaller ships and whatnot. Researching those quick and easy. Now you got to think of the profit margins, of course. But I went ahead and I bought a bunch of medium drone BPOs because they were cheap, they were quick to research, and I was going to be pumping out a lot of these guys. So these are the two options right here. You've got material efficiency and you've got time efficiency. There's 10 levels. Each level takes longer than the previous level, all the way up to level 10, which gives you the 10% and 20%. So that's that. That's how you start that process. That's what you want to do. It's a good investment. So if you're looking to start out, buy some BPOs and just start researching them. If you have no clue what you want to do, start researching, get that time going. This other option here is copying. So once you have a Blueprint original and you have it fully researched, you do not want to be moving that around. You don't want that thing to be changing places a lot because it is valuable. It is the only one. And you're better off making copies. So copying is basically making, you can make as many copies as you want. You got job runs and runs per copy. So when you run this job right here, I'm saying I want 10 blueprints and I want each of them to produce 100 drones. So if I did this, it'll take 3 days. I'm not in a facility that supports that. I'm in the production facility. But just to give you an example, so you could make, 10 blueprints that have 100 runs. And that's what I do to do invention. You need the copies. You can't do invention. Let me backpedal a little bit. Invention is to get Tech 2 blueprints. To do invention, you have to have the copies. You can't do invention off the BPO. And to do invention with the copy, it's not always 100% chance guaranteed that it's going to succeed. And the blueprint copy is consumed by this process. So after the blueprint original, we'll go to the copy. And you can tell the difference between the dark blue and the light blue. Very important to pay attention to if you're buying and selling these, because these colors, you can get scammed with that. So going with the copy, when you make the copy, it has the same stats as the original, the 10 and 20%. So you don't have to worry about that. And then this copy, I've already used 10 runs, but has 90 runs remaining. Because remember, I did 10 blueprint copies with 100 runs each. So here is what you're going to be doing the majority of your work with. A blueprint original, you work with that some depending on how you have your operation set up. But like I said, me personally, I do all my work with the copies. This is what you need to produce Tech 1 Vespas, Tech 1 drones. You can see the input materials here, the skills required down here, and the output here, and then the job and cost down here. There's a lot of information, but everything you need is right here. Now, when you're doing industry, the biggest point of industry is to make money, to get an income. So that's where, and this is where the joke about EVE Online spreadsheets in space comes into play. This has an estimated cost. So right here, the estimated cost is 340,000 ISK. And then this has an estimated cost of 389,000 ISK. Now that's estimated price. That is not, it can give you a ballpark idea, but if you want to be accurate and you want to really crunch the numbers, I highly suggest you do so. That way you can tell if you're making the right choice, because you don't want to be producing something and losing money on it, selling the end product for less than you bought the beginning products for. So I built a bunch of these Tech 1s because I want to use those Tech 1s to build Tech 2 drones, and you need the Tech 1 version to build the Tech 2. So I bought a bunch of these minerals and I produced a bunch of these drones. And this is pretty simple right here. This layout's pretty simple. Minerals, input, item, output. There's not a lot going on here. And then with the copy, also aside from producing, this is the invention screen. A little bit more going on here. You can see that there's these data cores up here, and there's an optional item down here, and then you can see the output is a Tech 2 blueprint, and then you see different numbers here and different quantities, and you see a success probability. So basically, to run your invention, you need the data cores, and then you can use an optional item to increase different outcomes, and I'll explain those a little bit more here in a second. But you do your invention, and here the output. So right now, if I did invention on this, there's a 39.4% success probability per run. So I'm running 10 job runs, which means, I'm consuming 10 runs from my blueprint copy. And then the output right here, the material and time efficiency, those aren't going to follow the copy. Those aren't going to be the same thing. So they're going to come out with their own numbers and their own runs. You cannot affect this right here unless you use one of these decryptors. There's a couple different decryptors. They all have different effects and what they do. Some give you a higher chance of probability. Some give you a higher run, more runs. Some give you higher material efficiency, higher time efficiency. So you can kind of determine how you want to play that on your own. Here in Perimeter, there is a research facility that I do all my work out of, and I have all my blueprints and I'm copying, doing my invention there, and it's just a constant factory. And you can actually see down here, I've got all these being researched, so I can do production and whatnot on these later. And right now I've got 2 invention jobs going on, and I just have these constantly going. I know you never want that to be, doing nothing. But yeah, there is the blueprint copy and how the invention works. Kind of a more basic explanation of it, but that's really all you need to know. Obviously, it gets more in depth. The higher you go and the more you do, and by that point, you'll most likely know this stuff. But this is just a basic overall view. So when you run the invention job and you get a successful outcome, you get one of these, a Tech2 blueprint. And this is where you get even more complicated with materials and whatnot. But here is the Tech2 blueprint. And this is where I'm focusing on as someone trying to make money out of this. So like I said, I'm producing robotics and guidance systems, and my overall goal was to make more money with guidance systems and robotics than I was, than just selling them on the market. So I wanted to do this. Now here's all the different materials you need to do a Tech2 blueprint or a Tech2 item. You need the blueprint, you need all these different materials, and there's the outcome. You need a little bit more skills, but overall, not too complicated on a small scale, right? So, basically the blueprint is like a shopping list of things you need to, cook something, and then here's all the ingredients, and here's how you do it, and there's what the end product is, basically like that. Now drones, these are pretty simple. There's some really in-depth things. Like if you get into structures, that's a whole nother thing. There's different kind of, build chains, if you will. But yeah, here is everything you need to produce a Tech2 drone. And then if you look at it, same thing, you can kind of scroll right here and see the total estimated price of all the input materials, and you can see the total estimated price of the output materials. Again, these are estimated. You actually want to run your own numbers when you're buying all this stuff and doing all this work. I accumulate my own planetary interaction materials, which you can see right here, planetary interaction, minerals, and then the other stuff. But some people just buy everything, and that's a viable way of doing industry. You can just buy everything outright. As long as you're pricing it out and that you're spending less on the the input materials than you're selling the output material for. And then there's a whole market game of, okay, I bought all this stuff, I've built the item, then you need to set a price for, this is what I need to sell it for to make this amount of money, or this is the absolute lowest I'll sell this for. So that's something you've got to pay attention when you're doing this. But like I said, I wanted to make more money off guidance systems and robotics, so I decided to do this, and I've mathed it out, and I've determined the prices that I've spent on the rest of the stuff and the prices for the guidance system and robotics, and I found out that I was making a net profit from building these. It's just, requires more time, more effort, but overall more ISK for material that I, rather than just selling the material straight up. Now, once you actually produce the item, the next thing you have to do is sell it. So like I mentioned before, it depends on where you're doing all of this out of. I rely all on Perimeter, the structures there to do all my invention and manufacture, but you could be doing this in deep nullsec where it's just your alliance or your corp, and you're having to figure things out there with doing planetary interaction. And it's actually a really good idea, especially if you're living far out from a trade hub, to look at how you can support your alliance or your corporation, your group, based off your industrial activities. So when I was in an alliance, we had a list of what we needed to have stocked on the market, and people picked and choose what they wanted to stock, and they focused on that. It's, depending on who you're with, there may be different rules, or it's just a free reign, like, hey, build whatever you can, sell it, depending on your size and whatnot. So that's something to take into mind, take into account for. So figure that out, determine what you want to build, determine what resources you have available, and then how you want to distribute it. Now, you could go even further. For example, if I was building these Tech2 drones and I wanted to sell them for even more, and I wanted to make more of a profit, I could look at taking these Tech 2 drones and transporting them somewhere else and selling them somewhere else for more, you know, because JITA is the easiest place to sell stuff. It has the highest volume. But sometimes you can find higher prices because people are willing to pay more outside of JITA, you know, pretty far away. So that's things you have to take into consideration when you're trying to figure out where you want to sell and how you want to sell. You could look at little trade hubs around New Eden because there's there's more trade hubs out there than JITA. There's other high sec trade hubs, there's low sec trade hubs, places you can get access to. And if you can determine that what you're producing will sell for more ISK over there, then all you have to do is transport it and you can increase your profit margins. Obviously I will say track what you're doing, keep an eye on it. You know, it's fun, this activity. Like, I enjoy the activity of industry because it's nice, you know, gathering the materials and doing the logistics chain and whatnot. But the overall purpose of it is to actually make money. So you want to make sure you're not producing at a net loss. So this is basically all I have for industry. It's a very, you know, it can be on a huge scale. For example, I mean, this is a small bit. I'm just, you know, I'm not even a big time industrialist. I'm just making all my stuff. And you can see I have a pretty large variety. I have all the medium drone blueprints. I have the originals for producing the Tech 1s, and then I have all the Tech 2 copies. Then I have all the materials, and I'm just cranking them out here. But this is a small industrial chain. I mean, what you need, depending on where you are, it can get a lot more complex. Doing, you know, there's moon mining reactions, and that's a whole chain. There's producing, once you start producing capitals or, you know, ships, you're producing components that are components of components, and it's a whole chain. So this is nice and easy. This is just an introductory. If you have any questions at all about industry, you want to know more, I'm not, you know, the biggest expert, but I know my way around, and I'd be more than happy to help you. So yeah, hopefully you've learned something from this. Industry is literally the backbone of New Eden. It's, you know, everything in the game is produced by players, so you know, you have to have industry. So yeah, hopefully you've learned something. Hopefully maybe this inspires you to try industry. As I said, I'll have my planetary interaction guides linked in the description below. So if you like this video, let me know. If you have issues or concerns with it, also let me know. Leave a comment below. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate all the subscriptions. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the abyss next time.
In the soulless